There is a transcendental feeling to it. People will be guided in those states. They will go into the cosmos. They will visit other planets, and they'll come back awakened with a, oh my goodness, wow, that kind of sense that I traveled, I went there, I was there. It's very clear that it was a very real experience, that they went through. When they awaken, some persons have additional psychic abilities. As you said, we've talked about the telepathy, but people wake up, they know the future, they have very clear clairvoyance, their claircognizance, they know things about what's going to happen. There's all types of sensitivities and psychic abilities that persons who have these experiences have in their waking lives. So it's not all doom and gloom. And I would like the listeners, as we touched on at the beginning, it's about having the sense that, what can I learn from this? How can I overcome this? It's rather than just being passive and accepting, oh, they're coming, oh, they're going to get me, oh, I'm going to die. Because you do literally feel like you're going to die in some of those experiences. But it's about having a mind of curiosity to see where it's going to take you. And it can take you to those more positive, higher levels during those experiences.
Welcome to Connecting with Coincidence. Yeah, it's me, Bernie, talking about weird stuff that we call coincidences and synchronicity, which is a large umbrella. And today you're going to hear about an umbrella, part of the umbrella, which I didn't really even know about until I met our guest today, Sheila Pryce Brooks, at a meeting here in Charlottesville, Virginia, that she attended and presented. And we met, and we had a connection in which I could read some of her experiences. And it wasn't like I could put stuff together from what was going on around her and me, which helped. But I felt that I could read her feelings and her thinking. And that's a kind of telepathic communication that I'm trying to be able to encourage human beings to be able to do with each other. This is how we can possibly communicate in the future without having to use all these clumsy things called words. These grunts, we can get across more clearly, and we can also be more empathic because I could feel what she was feeling as well as put a label on it. And we hardly knew each other. In fact, we didn't know each other a little bit. And when we were talking in the hallway, so you'll meet Sheila, and the thing that stands out about her is you'll hear is she had some difficult experiences, which have to do with being paralyzed while sleeping or waking up, and then not being able to move, sleep paralysis, which is not uncommon. And she did what a lot of people do, which is say, "Oh, no, terrible thing! It's like, what am I going to do? I can't move." But then she did what I think is probably one of her best messages to all of us. She said, "I'm not going to get afraid of this. Instead, I am going to study it. I am going to study it." That's what we'll be talking about today. What she has studied, what she has learned from the liminal space, the space between waking and sleeping, and what she found and is finding in that research. So, Sheila, welcome to the show, and I'm going to give you another I'll give another more formal intro about you. You're a researcher, a consultant specializing in sleep paralysis and extraordinary spiritual experiences. So, you're going to find out how those two are related. She spent over 30 years helping people transform their lives and is known for her work in near-death experiences, astral projection, which maybe we're going to get into, lucid dreaming, and other altered states of consciousness. And this is not psychedelic inspired, which might surprise a few people, including me. This is like direct experience, which is important for all of us to know that you don't need mind altering anythings to like investigate altered states of consciousness. They're there, they're accessible to us. And Sheila stumbled into one main way of doing it. Sheila, it's great to see you again.
Wow. Thank you, Bernie. That was a wonderful intro to me and my work. Thank you for that. And also thank you for sharing what happened in the hallway when we met. And I can say to the viewers, to the listeners, that I didn't really know at the time the depth of what was going on. And this is the first time that I'm hearing it from you in terms of the level of telepathy that was happening and the depth of it, and that you were able to feel those experiences. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And part of what I'm trying to encourage people to do is just what we are doing here if you have a synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence of some kind, to say what the experience of each person was, rather than just not knowing. You didn't know. You were very interested that I could say that. You were surprised, but you didn't know my experience. Now you do. Now that you've heard my experience of you in the hallway, now what do you feel?
Well, it's pretty powerful. And yeah, you were spot on in terms of the emotions that you felt. I don't know how I conveyed them to you. I don't know how it happened. I mean, at the time, I don't think in the hallway I was speaking about the experiences, but they were definitely with me. I think if I remember, I had finished my talk and we were just having a chat outside. So it's amazing that you were able to connect with that and so deeply. I don't know how it happens. I mean, and how you were able to do it. But
It's it takes two to tango, Sheila. It takes two to dance like that. So it's not just me, it's us. Uh,
yeah, yeah. So I was obviously emitting something. I obviously had something that you could tap into
yes.
to be
Yeah.
able to receive that impression or whatever it was that you received, you know? So I don't know how it works, but it's an amazing ability that you've been able to refine.
It's I emphasize it's not just me. It was a simple thing, like you wanted to get back into the meeting, and I could feel your urgency. There was nothing on your face that said that, maybe a little bit of a tension, but the feeling of I want to get back in there is like what I picked up. That was the strong part of it. And what that means to me is that your evolution means that if there is someone, in this case it was me, who can resonate with you, who's open to you, that I can pick up that openness that you already have, that you have developed in your spiritual journey. And that meant I could connect with you because of how you are evolving.
So there was something unique about me that you were able to bridge with.
Yes.
And what would you say that is? What is
Your open-heartedness uh, is the best I could say now. it's more, it's about how authentic, genuine, these words are getting used too much, but they have to do with being in your signature vibration, your vibrational signature, the one that is mostly Sheila, that is, and being in that place and being able to talk from that vibrational signature, that resonance that is closest to who you are, that I am so tuned into when people are like that. I mean, that's where my part is. I love that, to be able to do that with people. It's like, it's a wonderful thing to connect, to be able to stand there and feel what you were feeling without your telling me.
And I must say that we hadn't met before that. This was our first meeting, and you were able to tap in, so to speak, instantaneously, more or less, just by being around me, looking at me, and having a conversation about something quite general. It's amazing.
Well, you had presented, so I got to look at you and I got some idea about you, so I knew something about you already. Well, we'll leave that for now, but it's was you and me is what I'm suggesting. And coming out of giving a talk, you're more open. It depends on circumstances. We saw each other uh, at a kind of picnic or a lunch thing on the ranch, on a farm, and it's a different context. Afterwards, I'll tell you about some of the stuff that happened, but it's a different context. So here, let's go to what I think, to the two amazing things about you that are related to each other, that you had experiences of sleep paralysis and you used them rather than getting afraid of them. And this is what I try to be able to teach people to do with scary experiences, to do just what you did, to say, no, there's something I can learn here. There's something for me to get out of this, rather than like that. And you faced the fear. More than that, you examined what was triggering it, and now look, you're bringing a new kind of awareness to sleep paralysis that wasn't around very much.
Yeah, most definitely. Although I will say that I was afraid for a long time, to the point where it was affecting my day-to-day life. I wasn't sleeping. I was afraid to sleep. For a long time, I was so sleep deprived, trying, to hold down a job, always being so tired and not having energy, and you can't think straight and all of that. And I think what happened was I got to the point where it was repeating. The experiences were becoming familiar, so I anticipated them. I anticipated not just the fear-based experience, but what I would meet in that state. So I was becoming familiar with the different entities, and I will say that quite openly. I was becoming familiar with them and familiar with the different forms of intelligences that I would engage in that state, to the point where I was afraid to sleep because such and such would be there, or they would be there, or they are waiting for me to sleep. It had become personalized because I was aware there was a relational experience that was also happening, between the two of us. Well, I wouldn't even say two of us, because there was sometimes often more than two. It was them, it was they. But what happened was through the kind of intensity of the experiences, the fact that they were happening so often, I was very clear that it was not an hallucination. It was not random. It was not one-off. These were repeatable experiences. And through that, convinced me that something else was going on here. What was going on, I didn't know, but I wanted to get to the bottom of it. And part of that was the awareness that I wasn't alone having these experiences. And I think it was at that point that I became more determined to understand what was happening, regardless of where in the world people were located, age, even children, regardless of culture and background, ethnicity, upbringing, these experiences were happening across the board, and they were patterned, and they are similar in terms of content and emotions and the experiences and the entities and the different types of intelligences that are engaged. It's all the same. We're seeing the same beings, so to speak. We're having the same emotions. And I say that there are variations within that, but essentially it's the same. And through that, I've become ever more focused and determined to understand what's happening, and as well as that, provide support to people who are also having these same shared experiences. But it's also about not becoming passive, not being a passive, I'd say, victim to these experiences, changing the lens and saying, I want to explore and understand this far more. And what does that mean for me? What does that, how does that impact me? And I guess the rest of humanity, because it's a shared experience. As I said, it's not just, I'm not the only one. I'm now convinced that there is more out there. There's more to me than just this physical being, you know. There's more going on to this existence. I'm definitely convinced of that. And so it's a worldwide humanitarian message and mission that I'm on, Bernie.
Well, we each have our little missions to do. You know, I got mine with this synchronicity coincidence thing. I mean, it's great to find what you're here to do. I call it a job. It's like a mission has a nice flair to it, but it's a mission. But let's step back a little bit, Sheila, because you're telling me something more clearly than I realized before. To me, what I learned in medical school is sleep paralysis means you can't move while you're in bed, and you kind of can't get up. It's kind of a REM state, or at least thought to be, so that in REM your muscles are not activated, but you're awake while it's happening, so you can't move. Uh, and that's the scary part, is what they were telling us in medical school. But you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this happens, this being visited by your old buddies, some of whom you didn't want to see, some of whom you did. These being visited was part of the fear of the paralysis, that you're open to these other entities coming in to visit. Please describe sleep paralysis, and please describe from what you can tell, the percentages of people who experience them and the percentage of those people who experience entities.
Okay, I'll have a go. Sleep paralysis, and I do have a few issues with the term. It's a very old term based on an old scientific model that stripped out anything that was spiritual in nature. It comes from a time where everything had to be scientific. It had to be physical, touchable. You had to be able to measure it for it to really exist. So they stripped out the otherworldly nature of the experience and focused on the paralysis part, which people clearly spoke about. So sleep paralysis is a thing, and it happens to all of us. All of us, when we sleep, we know that this has been scientifically proven. When we sleep, our bodies are paralyzed. It's an automatic response so that we don't act out our dreams. It's a safety mechanism. We all go through sleep paralysis. The difference with some people is that they wake up in that state. Their consciousness is awake, very clear, very, very vivid in that state. And there is an awareness that they are paralyzed. Now, in that state, they're able to look around, see what's going on, hear sounds. Sometimes the consciousness will awaken in that state, and they're in their same environment. They'll look around, they'll see the door, they'll see their wardrobe, their mirror. They'll even hear the TV on in the room next door. But the body is paralyzed for them in that state, and an onlooker would simply see them sleeping and believe that they're sleeping. Now, in that state, that's when they'll have different experiences. They can look around, and they may immediately sense a foreboding, a sense that not only where am I, but wow, there's something not quite right here. There's something a bit spooky. There's a sense of evil, sometimes pure evil, and that creates a sense of terror, which invokes this kind of response. You want to move, and then you realize you can't move because you're paralyzed, and then the fear kind of intensifies at that point because you can't flee from whatever. And in that state, persons will also see different entities, have different experiences. We talked about out of body and astral projection experiences. They can, if they see different types of intelligences, they'll be able to interact with them, communicate with them. And again, the telepathy angle comes in. A lot of this is telepathic, that's going on, mind to mind, thought is going on there. So a range of experiences can happen whilst you're in that state. Now, in terms of the figures, the data says anything from 5% of the global population up to about 80%. So we don't have concrete figures, but what I do know is that it's far more popular than we are led to believe. A lot of people are having these experiences, and recently there's been an increase in sleep paralysis experiences. Now, whether it's because more people are feeling open, because there have been changes socially where it's more socially acceptable to say, I had a sleep paralysis experience. I think back in the day it would be kind of a taboo subject, but now it's more kind of, you can openly talk about these things. Whether or not that's the reason why there's been an increase, or whether or not there has been some kind of energetic or consciousness kind of impact that's been going on, why people are having more of these episodes, I don't know, but they are on the increase, and they are becoming far more popular, and people are having these episodes more so. Now, I don't know the stats in terms of how many of those people are seeing and engaging with different forms of intelligences, but I would say that by far the majority, because if somebody says they've had sleep paralysis, it's implied that they saw something, they felt something. You know, when someone says, oh, I had sleep paralysis the other night, what did you see? What did you feel? It carries that, it has a reputation of being unwanted in most cases, you know, because of the fear, because of the terror, because of the different types of intelligences that one experiences, you know.
I thought it was because you couldn't move.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that was
it's
that was
not
the start.
just, yeah, you can't move, but there's also in the air, you look around and there's this sense of you're scared. You open your eyes and you've got this fear automatically. It's not as though you wake up and it's all light and sunny and bright and smells nice and it feels friendly. No, it's dark, it's shadowy. I mean, even if you went to sleep with the light on in your bedroom, when you awake in that state, you awake to shadows, to maybe whispers. There's a sense in the air that something unwanted is there, and that you're being watched. Something is watching you, which again adds to this relational sense. There's something there that's observing me. I don't know what it is. I can't control this environment, this state. Where am I? Where is this? So there's a lot to unpick there, Bernie.
There's a It's exploring a new reality right from your own bed. Uh, you, you don't you don't have to go to Brazil to have an ayahuasca ceremony. You just go to sleep and not be able to move, and who knows where you're going to go. I mean, you're beginning to make it sound like DMT experiences, where people who take dimethyltryptamine, a relatively short-acting psychedelic, which is in ayahuasca, which there's a way to make that last longer, so that they visit some of the same entities. They've been cataloged, a field guide to the DMT entities. You know about them, I suppose.
Yeah. And that's another area that needs more research, because the entities are the same. We're seeing the same. Now, how does that happen? I mean, you tell me, how does that happen? How is it that we're seeing the same entities in that same kind of transitional liminal state?
Well,
Because what's going on, and is it a coincidence? Is it a synchronicity? I would say it's far more than that.
well,
That
yeah, yeah.
it points to me to that there's that is a form of reality.
Yeah, that's what it means. I mean, I have to do this on the surface of the earth, the synchronicity thing, where I have to do the same thing you're doing, which is kind of like, well, a different version of, hey, this person experiences this one, and so do 15 others, uh, or so do now thousands of others, and you have to have the reports, and that's why they're increasing. You're also hearing more reports because people are more able to talk about them. That's why some of these statistics go up. But there's also the time right now where things are really in turmoil, and that's when synchronicities are more likely to happen during times of transition, personally and also for the global population. And those weird things are happening in the daytime. And they're like dreams. Synchronicities can be like dreams. It's kind of, there's this weird symbolism connection among what's in your mind and what's outside of your mind. This is a variation on an altered state of consciousness, which synchronicities are in a lesser dramatic way, usually. There's all you can come up with is there's something out there or in there or with me or over there or around me. At this point, it's like, for me, it's like, okay, give me a little help with my blood pressure, would you please? It's like you can talk to these guys if you believe they're there. You can talk to them, but when you get into the sleep paralysis state, which is, I think you're going to try to change the name of that somehow.
Yeah, most
Uh,
definitely.
you're gonna, it's a portal. It's another portal into, I think it's just going on around here. I don't think it's just another dimension. I think it's right here around us on Earth, these other entities. And there may be other places, but man, they seem to be hanging around our minds right here on Earth.
Yeah, most definitely it's a portal, and I'm seeing it more and more as there's a threshold. And I'm seeing sleep paralysis as a threshold contact
Yeah.
type experience,
Yeah.
because you pass the threshold, you're in contact with something else.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And
Yeah.
experiences do say that they feel as though these intelligences are with them in the day.
Yeah.
So it's not, they'll be about doing shopping or with the family, and they'll feel the same. They feel as though the entities are there watching them. I know for me personally, I felt as though they were waiting for me to go to sleep. You know, I got that sense. And I was defiant sometimes. I said, I'm not going, you're not going to come tonight. I'm not going to sleep. But of course, that adds to my sleep deprivation. So it didn't work out in the end for me, you know. But there's definitely a sense that they are there, and that there's something dimensionally going on, interdimensionally. And it kind of says that when we sleep, we are able to transcend dimensions. There's something about when we sleep, perhaps our consciousness or our energetic body can interface with different dimensions and move through different dimensions, which adds to the astral projection ability of sleep paralysis experiences in that state, in terms of crossing different dimensions once they pass that threshold. And you're right, the synchronicity stuff, there's something that's being tapped into quite clearly there, and there's something going on which is very organized that we don't fully understand, just like sleep paralysis or the um threshold contact.
All right, wait a minute, wait. And it's very organized. I mean, you sneak in what you're talking about from what the way I'm listening to you, some key um, phrases. They're watching,
Yes,
and now you say they're organized. So
yes.
really, what I'm most interested in is what are these things that we can call them interdimensional? I prefer to say that they're hanging around in our Earth, our psychosphere, our mental atmosphere, and they may come from other places and come in and out, but we connect with them here on Earth as, I think, in a dimension that we're not recognizing very well. But we have our different ways of thinking about it. But, but back to a third thing about telepathy. Part of the reason now I think that I could pick up from you is because you're doing telepathy all the time when you go into sleep paralysis. It's kind of like what you do. It's part of the communication. So you're already um, primed to do telepathic communications. And that I think had to do with why I could pick it up from you because I'm hungry for that. I'm like the telepathy tapes kind of guy. I this is a better way to communicate by telepathy than by this bop stuff. And you are doing that. And so part of the reason I could probably do that with you is because you're so used to being telepathic with these entities.
Most definitely. And I didn't want to say that earlier.
Well, you said it now and we got it. So let's go on because this thing they're watching you. They're
Yeah.
watching you.
Yes. Yeah.
They're also interacting with you. They're not just watching. And they're trying to understand how your mind works, among other things, because they're curious about you, I think. I mean, that's my sense of it. And they want to, there's an aspect of watching, there's an aspect of wanting to get to know you better. That's my sense. Is that yours?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say that. Within that, though, I would say that there are different types.
Yes.
There isn't just the one. There's
No,
several
20,
different types.
26 different types according to the Field Guide to DMT. Uh, so you must have some favorites. I mean, there's the little gray guys that sort of hang around, and there's various forms of Jesus that tend to be hanging around, and, and there's others that just like to be funny and play with you. So and just make stuff happen, and there are others that are scary.
Yeah, and we know that thousands of years ago, people would experience the incubus.
Yes.
You know, the troll-like beast. He's very famous on social media, on the internet. The troll-like beast that would just kind of land on your chest, this huge, kind of hideous looking thing. And that's going back thousands. There are reports of that. You know, thousands of years ago, people was seeing this during sleep paralysis. They say they could not move their body. You know, their body was still, but this beast would come upon them. And that's going way back. So that was the beast. Today, people are still seeing the beast. I've seen the beast on multiple occasions. So I know the beast, and we've had that kind of telepathic kind of discussion and conversations between us. But
Tell
now,
tell us tell us about some of those telepathic conversations with.
oh,
Ah.
they were quite the majority of them were fear-based, you know, and even just speaking about them now, it's kind of bringing back that
Yeah.
my stomach's in knots, you know. It's not very nice. But there are some that are very caring. And in sleep paralysis, and I must say this and get this across, some people see loved ones who have passed away. Some people get messages and warnings and things that they should do in their waking life. You know, there is a transcendental feeling to it. People will be guided in those states. They will go into the cosmos. They will visit other planets, and they'll come back awakened with a, oh my goodness, wow, that kind of sense that I went there, I was there. It's very clear that it was a very real experience, you know, that they went through. When they awaken, some persons have additional psychic abilities. As you said, we've talked about the telepathy, but people wake up, they know the future, they have very clear clairvoyance, their claircognizance, they know things about what's going to happen. There's all types of sensitivities and psychic abilities that persons who have these experience have in their waking lives. So it's not all doom and gloom. And I would like the listeners, as we touched on at the beginning, it's about having the sense that, what can I learn from this? How can I overcome this? You know, it's rather than just being passive and accepting, oh, they're coming, you know, oh, they're going to get me, oh, I'm going to die, kind, because you do literally feel like you're going to die in some of those experiences. But it's about having a mind of curiosity, to see where it's going to take you. And it can take you to those more positive, higher levels during those experiences. You're muted. I can't.
Just describe some of those higher level experiences.
Um, I know that for me, there was one where I I remember I was floating through the ceiling of my bedroom, through the roof of the house, and I was zapped in the sky, in the atmosphere. There were no clouds, it was dark. And I was being like, there was a, I was holding someone's hand, and I was being pulled, and we were floating up, 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 up. And I remember there was a light. It was like a pinprick when we were floating up, and it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the same time as the light was getting bigger, not only did I feel lighter, but I felt this immense love. I mean, it's incredible. When it makes me think that when we talk about love in our everyday sense, it was nothing compared to this overwhelming sense. It was in me and through me, this love, as I was getting closer and closer, and the light was getting brighter and brighter. And I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to keep going because the sensation felt It was increasing the closer I got. And then I heard, we've got to go back now. I
Uh-oh.
can't take you any further. And then zap, zap, I was back in bed. I woke up and it was incredible. It happens just like that. The movement is instantaneous. There's no, it's like in a thought, you're somewhere else, and I woke up back in bed, back in my body, so emotional and overwhelmed from that experience that was so real. And I would say that it was a real experience. That was my reality, you know, that I still can't get over that feeling now of what I felt, it was just so intense.
It's you got I've had the feeling of what I'd call divine love, which is something like what you're describing. We have different names for it, but it's really nice, and
It
that's not enough of a word for it. And what do you take back from there, from that experience to this reality? Because I think there's something to take back to here from there.
Well, I think there are several things. I know that there's more, as I said at the start, than to this life than what we're physically living.
Yeah.
I know that this emotion that I felt, I don't feel it on my day to day. The love that I feel on a day to day is just a pinprick compared to what I felt during that experience. So I know that emotionally there's far more that can be experienced than what we are experiencing here.
Just at this moment, as you're talking about it, my heart is starting to radiate a positive feeling that's in the direction of what you're talking about. So you're eliciting or evoking or something in my heart, the kind of love that you can't really describe, but you could convey it through your words. And now I'm feeling some of that as we talk, and it's part of what I think happened when we were talking in the hallway, is that because we didn't know each other, that we didn't have screens up. And so that makes a big difference. That first encounter is like sometimes can be so magical. So because you're not screening away. So as I'm talking now, it kind of diminishes, but just appearing you're appearing to me and talking to me and kind of bringing down the memory that is still so alive in you, is with you all the time and wants to be evoked. And you want to feel it again. You want to feel it more and more. And that to me is the lesson here, is that it's possible to feel this here, and one way to feel it is with other human beings. It's not the only way, with trees and puppies and people and all kinds of other ways, but it's here for us to experience on Earth. That's the message I want to get from your kind of experience.
Most definitely. And also I should say that what I knew in that moment with that experience was that it was everything, that love, nothing else matters. That feeling, that emotion is everything. Everything else is irrelevant. It's meaningless. That love was so pervasive. It was in my body. It was oozing out of me. And I got the sense that I was connected then to everything. It was all around me. That emotion, that feeling. It was everywhere with everything. And that you don't need anything else once that exists, once you have that within you and you can spread that and share that, that's what
I
I
think
definitely
I
feel.
I think you need a body, at least if you're going to walk around on Earth, uh, to spread it around. I mean, there's there is this polarity that is part of living on Earth that you're describing, the immense love. I like that the light got brighter, and in the Kabbalah, it's Ein Sof, which is endless light going out, and you got lighter and lighter, and you got that light lit you up, and you called it love. You were indirectly talking about light and love as somehow having to do with each other. I just like the way I just like the way where you lit up with light and love. But the polarity is that you had that experience and then you had to come back. But I think that's what having a body means, is that we have the potential for each of those polarities of intense, immense divine love. And I keep looking around for it. I mean, I want to be able to experience that with other people. And so many people are closed off from it. Sometimes I have that at dance, but then they get to act like people and stuff happens and do you can't really do it. Can't we just love each other and like don't get into all these other, oh, you said this and that bothered me, and why did you do that? No, okay. Okay, but you need that to kind of straighten out the difficulties. But I like just meeting you and getting a feeling of it with you. And that to be able to do that requires a vulnerability and an openness and experience. You have had experience of the divine love, I'll call it. And you're looking for it here too, in some various ways. You want it to happen to you because that's what happened with you and me. We could feel something of that in a much smaller way. And each of us, you and I, and with other people and other situations, would like to be able to feel some aspect of that love with other people.
Yeah, I think things in our human ways, we complicate things
We do.
unnecessarily.
We do. We do. But I've always wondered about the phrase keeping body and soul together. I never understood that growing up. Now I understand. You gotta like feed yourself and you gotta like be able to walk around somehow and not mess up your body. Um it,
Yeah,
you gotta, and that the body keeping body and soul together is a lot of work. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, and that's the complexity, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's where it lies, really, trying
it
to keep
is.
together and
Yeah,
unnecessarily, you know.
it's it
Yeah.
is. It is. We're gonna have to end in some time, maybe about 10 minutes. Um, and, and I wonder what, I mean, I can ask you a lot of questions. Oh, but one question I did have is you said there seems to be, if they seem to be organized, all these characters that you're running into. They seem to be organized. I mean, do you remember saying that?
Yeah. Oh, and I wholeheartedly stand by that. They're not
Was
speaking in different. I understand them completely. I mean, and that's again, and I understood when you said that words are cumbersome. I mean, that wasn't your exact phrase, but you said something along those
I
lines.
did. I
And they
did.
are, they are, they are kind of primitive compared
Very
to the
primitive.
yeah, yeah, they are. And I guess I can say that to you, Bernie, and you get it, when I,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, when you're kind of speaking mind to mind, there's no complexity. It's not messy. You don't fumble, So in terms of them being intelligent, was that the word you used? And organized.
Yeah, organized. I mean, if
They are
what
very much so. They know about for example, they know about hierarchy. I've seen ones that have got who are afraid of some other ones. Let's say that, for example. So that in our day-to-day world, that's like there's some form of hierarchy there. Some form of social structure. And that is organized. They are organized. Not only that, but they understand our level of organizing. They know exactly who I am. They know exactly my position. They know exactly what I'm afraid of. They know how to frighten me, most definitely. They know my fears, and they can invoke that at will when they want to. When I saw the light, that was very organized. That experience there, and bringing me back and clearly saying that I couldn't go any further. I got the sense that there was some kind of a boundary and that I hadn't attained, or I wasn't able to go past that. That's also very, very organized as well. And I could go on in terms of their level of organization, but it's not random. It's not it's not unorganized in the sense that I have the experience and it's like, what's going on here?
Go
There
on.
is
Go
there
on
is a
about the go on about the organization, Sheila. This is very intriguing because I hear it as potentially applicable to how we organize here on the planet. That's the way I hear about it. So what
yeah.
else what else is what are other signs of organization?
I would say in terms of there are groupings of entities, and you touched on that with the DMT stuff. But there are definitely groupings of entities, and I talked about the hierarchy.
Yeah.
There's their ability to to kind of different levels of fear that they can invoke on us. There's the sense that our emotions impact the experience.
Their experience.
That's right, most definitely. Which is
Huh.
why I'm able to shift it from the fear to the let's interact here. Let's
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
let's see where we can take this,
Yeah.
and I could only do that with an intelligence that is organized. The messages that are received, I'm quite precognitive. So I people now will call me and say, "Oh, did you see anything about me last night? Do you have any messages for me last night?" Now that, and then it will come to pass in the waking life, in day-to-day lives. And I've had many people share with me experiences that have happened in sleep paralysis or messages that have been downloaded, and it replays in the day-to-day waking life. Now that is extremely organized.
Well,
um
that's it's information to me. I mean, it's organized in a way, but when you say it's organized, I have to go to like who's organizing it.
yeah, and that I don't know. I haven't reached that point yet.
Well, you when you say it's organized, I know what you mean now by it's like the hierarchy, and they have particular things they're doing, and they know about you, and they've increased your capacity for precognition, among other things. But they're organized, and as we get to the end of our conversation here, Sheila, what are they doing around here, and what do they have to do with us? Why are they messing with us?
I think that we are part of a much bigger picture. It's just that we can't see it.
Yeah,
Our human body has limitations. Our eyes can only see certain aspects of all that is going on around.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that we are part of a much bigger landscape,
yeah,
and we share the landscape.
yeah.
That's my understanding of it, that we are all here in this space interacting. It's just that as our humanness limits us to broader understanding of all that's going on. And it doesn't just relate to this physicality. It impacts on things like different dimensions, um, different apart from different forms of consciousness and different forms of intelligence. We're looking at different timelines. We're looking at different forms of metaphysics. There's a lot going on there in that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on out there, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot going on. What's going on here on the crust of Gaia here on Earth is that this entity called humanity that they're interacting with through many means, DMT now, sleep paralysis more clearly for me, they're hanging, they're, I like to think, I like to hope that there may be something in what they're doing that might help us from committing suicide, or at least dismembering much of our collective human organism and just leaving a little bit of it, because that's the way we're headed. Uh, are any of them interested in helping humanity, not to help humanity survive?
I think most definitely. And I think that even if we look at have receiving messages, persons will say they were increasingly supported because they engaged with a loved one, let's say. Now, that's incredibly healing for that individual to have that experience, you know? Other people have said other things and have had different experiences, which are incredibly positive, even just the precognition and knowing what's going to happen, not just for individuals, but for humanity. That is also that's also incredibly positive. I think that
You you say that again?
I think that some of the interactions are incredibly positive, and I think that even me here expressing my story, talking about my experiences is incredibly positive, and it's about shifting humanity
It
and
it's
moving
about it's
and
about
have
shifting. Yeah.
that's right. Most definitely, and that's incredibly positive as well. For sure, in terms of their level of intelligence, they are way beyond us. You know, we are to some extent a bit arrogant sometimes in thinking,
Oh boy, are we arrogant.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
but there are forms of intelligence that by far surpass us, and the different forms that we experience during sleep paralysis are a testimony to that. They are way, way, way beyond us. So I think that me sharing these experiences and making that shift in humanity and doing more research, opening up, having more discussions and conversations like we are now, we're moving from where we are to a higher point and opening our awareness and our understanding, that there are other life forms and that some people don't know why can engage with them, whether it's a negative engagement or a positive engagement, we can engage, and that there are different entities and different forms of life that we can interact with. And so that has to be positive. It's not all about doom and gloom and oh they're going to get us, oh they're going to take over. It's not as simplistic as that.
No, it isn't, and I understand now what you're talking about. So I'll end with this question. Are are you getting into any conversations about artificial intelligence and the future with them?
No, I haven't,
You haven't. Well,
but I plan to.
I'm going to ask you to do that. It's like some people are making AI into a new God form. It's robotheism is the new name for that. It's like, and then they become divine beings through interaction with AI, and some of them do get crazy, but some of them get caught up in it. They leave their family. They become missionaries, but I don't know if they have a particular mission for them, but they feel like they do. And each of us does have something that we can contribute to offer, have a job to do here or a mission we can have. So I'm asking you, and please let me know what they tell you about the place of artificial intelligence into the future, because it's kind of like an alien, the artificial intelligence. It's like I'm learning how to talk with an alien. And one of the things to do with AI is not be afraid of it, which some people are, And it's also not to think it's much more wonderful than it actually is. So, what you said is so important about so many things. It's the way that you approach some of these entities that makes the biggest difference. If you're afraid, they'll get you. If you're not afraid, but you're curious, you want to know, and you want to interact with them, then something positive is likely to happen. That's what AI also teaches us.
Yeah, most definitely. And who knows, AI could be an interface for communication, you know? Yeah.
Ask that question, would you please? Because I, I think every once in a while the AI sneaks a little something in. At least I caught it trying to sneak something in that wasn't my thought. It came from someplace. It's like there's something funny going on with it. I sometimes have this idea that there's some entity behind the AI playing games with me. It's like it reminds me a bit of what you're talking about as another entity. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
please,
and don't discount that, Bernie.
pardon.
Don't discount that because it may well be.
That's why I get to talk with you about it, and then ask you, since you got connections I don't have, people I don't know. I'm okay. So, hey, ask the guys you know, because I don't know those guys, and you do. So maybe I'll give you some idea about what they're doing, and what AI
I
is.
think that's one for another show.
It's
So
definite.
definitely have me back. Give me a couple of months perhaps, and have me back, and I'll fill you in.
I'll. I look forward to that, Sheila. So thank you very much for a lot of fun again. I mean, I'm glad this really was fun talking with you. So thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
And thank you for hosting and having me.
You're welcome.